Hi, welcome back to PyHacks. Today we're going to conclude our final journey into lists and everything you can do with lists. We're going to look at sorting, copying and joining them together. I'm going to launch Spider. If you've not been following along up to this point, I probably advise you to go back and have a look at the previous tutorials. Otherwise, there'll be a link in the description field to the supporting GitHub repository to download this code and work alongside me. So do that before we get started. And then open your favorite text editor up and let's get cracking. So I'm going to open my Spider, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these two lines, and I'm also hit Control and L in the console window. That'll clear the output. So what we're going to want to do today is we're going to want to sort the lists first of all. So I'm going to use the yearly coding errors we created through list comprehension. And I'm going to use the sort method on that. And by default, if I print this out, you'll see, and if I press F9 on those two, we've now got an ascending sort, and it's printed that out to my console. If I wanted to have a look at that, it's also changed the original list in memory. Now it's sorted at ascending order. If I want to do this descending, set reverse equal to true. I'm going to print this out again. Okay, and we're going to select both of those and hit F9. Now you can see that it's done it as a descending sort. And you'll see that again, the change has been reflected in the actual list in memory. Okay, so just to refresh your memory, I'm going to show you another list that I've created just to keep track of our progress. So what we've covered so far. So you can see on the covered so far, we've done list fundamentals, accessing list items, adding list items, changing list items, removing list items, looping through list items, list comprehension and sorting lists. And you can print that out if you want to the console as well. So let's create a copy of this. Copy. And this is simply done by two ways. So I'm going to call the first method is something that we've already looked at, covered so far, dot copy method. So now we've got this first method, it's made a copy, an exact copy of that list. Let's do the second method then. Another way to do that, without having to call a method on it, you can use the inbuilt list command. A list subclass for Python 2 that behaves like Python 3 lists. The primary difference is that lists have a copy method in Py3. And then all you have to do is pass in your copy. So create a list of an existing list here. Apologies. As you can see, the second method now has been created. Use whichever one you prefer. Okay, finally we're getting onto it. So what we want to do now is look at joining two lists together. Again, this is all in the source code, all as one complete script file, from the fundamentals to the list comprehension to the last part, which is the sorting, copying and joining lists. So what I'm going to do is create a variable list len, and this is going to use the len command of what we've covered so far, so to get the length of the list, how large it is. You'll see that now I've got this list len as an integer variable that's been created into memory, and it shows you that covered so far has got 9 elements in it. Okay, so if I wanted to now say I want to add an item to that list, we're going to use some of the stuff we've learnt before, covered so far, dot insert. So I'm going to use the insert command to insert at a certain point. So I'm going to go list len plus 1, or you could just find the end of the index if you wanted. And I'm going to say, and the end of the index would be -1, and then you could add that element in. Copying lists is what we've also done. So you'll see now that this list len is 9, and covered so far has now got 10 elements. And at the end of that, if I print it out, this should be this copy and list covered so far. Yep, appended on the end. That's another way that you can achieve it. You could do that -1 method that we looked at earlier in terms of indexing, and then add it on, which is up here, just to let you know there. So negative indexing, finding the last element, you could probably just +1 and add it on to get the next item. So let's join two lists together then. So that's just we've had a detour just to refresh your memory around how some of those methods work. Join the lists together, joined list 1, first method. So I'm going to use this first method, which is a copy of the covered so far, and we're going to add to it programming languages. And now we got this. If we print this, it'll be available in memory as well. You can see it on the right hand side. We're going to print it back to console as well. We've got this completely joined list. So from here, we've got list fundamentals. It gives you all the list items that we've covered, as well as programming languages on the end. Okay. Another way to do it, let's have a method 2, say, is to use what we've already done before. And we're going to create 2 new ones here. Years experience in, say, data science, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say the salary we think might go with that. This is just purely hypothetical. Don't want you judging me. 45,000, 50,000 for 2 years. 3 years in data science, 53 years. 53,000 pounds in my case, but it could be dollars, whatever. And 62. They might be low rates where you live. And then we do what we've done before. For I in years experience, and I'm going to append onto a list this time to an existing list, so add on to the end, salary dot append. And what we're going to append is the iteration. So for each item, we're going to append the iteration, so the ith. So every time it iterates, it's going to append on this I. And then print, because it's operating on the salary list, so it's going to append on the experience. Print salary, which is the list that it ends up operating on. Okay, let's just make sure I've run all those lines. Okay, I've just defined it. Am I referencing something that doesn't exist? Have I misspelt it? Let's do, oh yeah, years experience, it's year experience, I need to put an S. Oh, my spelling. Okay, so you can see that we have this salary. We've gone through each salary item and for each I, and then we've said actually from that salary we want to append that I. So for each I in years experience, we want to start here and we want to append each one of those values onto the end of the salary, and that's what you see here. So your salary is your initial one, your append call, so you're always going to append to whatever object you call here with what method. And then all this is going to do is each time it loops, it's going to append 1, then it'll loop back round, append 2, loop back round, append 3, loop back round, append 4. And that kind of concludes this tutorial. I hope you found that fun. In terms of the methods we've covered here today, I've added it to the GitHub, but there's append, clear, copy, count, extend, which we've looked at, index, can return the index, so something that we didn't actually look at, print, salary. So print salary index 0. There, built-in method, index. You could also say dot items. That's for not a list, is it? That's for other types of variables. But yeah, there's all the items that you can look at. So insert pop, we've used that. Remove, reverse, sort, extend, we've used. So that concludes the lists tutorial. I hope you enjoyed those 3 tutorials. And like I said, please drop me a message if you enjoyed it. And subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Watch some of my other videos if you're interested in transitioning to R as well. I've got videos on R and Python. And like I say, please drop me a line if there's any other material that you'd like me to create that I've not currently done. But until then, stay safe. And the next series of tutorials we're going to look at are tuples or tuples, however you want to say it. I don't judge. All right, guys, stay safe and see you soon.